Hey, welcome back to this mini lecture. This one's on Ecker and al's The Psychological Drivers of Misinformation, Belief, and its Resistance to Correction. This is part 2, Barriers to Belief Revision. So, although you can provide a correction, it may not revise the person's incorrect belief. There are cognitive factors. When information is encoded into memory and then the information that discredits it is learned, the original information is not simply erased or replaced. Instead, misinformation and corrective information coexist and compete for activation. So your correction may not help. In terms of social and affective factors for this, there's this idea of source credibility. This is the perceived trustworthiness and expertise of the sources providing the misinformation and correction. Although source credibility has been found to exert little influence on acceptance of misinformation if the source is a media outlet, there's generally strong evidence that credibility has significant impact on acceptance of misinformation from non-media sources. So if you have someone who is a friend of yours and they have a high degree of source credibility, like you believe them, this can have a strong impact, a significant impact on acceptance of this misinformation. Elusive backfire effects. This is divided into multiple ways, and I'll talk about that in a second. The definition of backfire effects is that this concerns that corrective interventions might cause harm by inadvertently strengthening misconceptions and ironically enhancing reliance on the very misinformation that is being corrected. The three types of backfire effects, I'll talk about them in order. First, overkill, then familiarity, and then worldview. Worldview is the strongest. In terms of overkill, it results from a correction using too many counter-arguments. A study found that correction of dubious claims were more rather than less potent when more counter-arguments were used, so long as the counter-arguments were relevant. So as a result, if you have relevant counter-arguments, this may not be a powerful effect, so the overkill backfire effect may not be that significant. Familiarity backfire effect. It's thought to result from a correction that unintentionally boosts the familiarity of the misinformation being corrected. This effect is characterized as an increase in misinformation belief following a correction relative to a pre-correction baseline or no exposure controlled condition. So again, by it becoming more and more familiar from your correction, it can actually theoretically cause greater misinformation. And third is the worldview backfire effect. This is arguably the backfire effect of greatest concern for people who want to stop misinformation. It is thought to arise when people dismiss and counter-argue against corrections of false beliefs that are central to their identity. Therefore, as a result, connection may harden belief. So if someone has misinformation that is really core to their central identity, and you try to argue against it, it can activate, again, a really strong retort on their part and may, in fact, harden their beliefs. That was Ecker and al's The Psychological Drivers of Misinformation, Belief, and its Resistance to Correction. That was part 2, Barriers to Relief Revision. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.